I'm looking around the room. There's probably 50% of the people that were here the last 2 days are here now. I guess I would think that trading is more interesting than just listen to me sit up here and yap, but I guess maybe I'm wrong. Okay. All right, so let's tell you how my day started, what I'm doing here. Before we do this, who in this room is going to, if they weren't here, or if they are here even, would be trading today? Brian, would you be trading today? Yeah, okay. Tell me, what would you be trading today? Everything? Everything? Okay. Tell me what you've done. Now I'm going to pick on Brian just because, why, no, he's back there. Okay? Okay. What have you done already this morning? And then we're going to tell you what I've done already this morning. We're going to go through a routine. What?
I've already got an idea of what I want to do. Let's set my trades up over a first 3 or 4 days.
Right.
So I've been looking at even short cracks. I've been short cracks.
Right. Okay.
Crude really recovered yesterday on a spread basis.
Right.
So I'm buying on one side of the
Okay. You know, I don't know how many of you were here or actually were here when Nick Bollettieri spoke, but the point is, preparing to trade is just like preparing to go ahead and play a sport. If you don't go ahead and work out, if you don't get prepared, if you don't stretch before it starts, it's not happening. So let me tell you basically how my day goes, okay? And I'm a little insane, and I'm not expecting anyone to go ahead and do what I do. You have your own routine, you have your own thing. This morning already, okay, this morning, these are the things that I've already looked at, okay? And basically going to influence, forgetting about the technical aspects of it, because again, I'm going to try to match two pictures in my brain. What I think is going to happen in the world based on everything that I've read, along with the technical picture, and they both interact, and somehow I come out with some kind of jigsaw puzzle and try to make a trade. Okay? That makes sense. I try to go ahead and invest in a business today where I can go ahead and create a risk-reward situation which I think gives me an edge. Okay? Because if it doesn't give me an edge, I'm not going to do it. Hopefully, I think I did find a good one for us today. All right, so this morning, okay, the first thing I did is I read on the DEPCO website about the nonsense going on where they think that Saddam Hussein is in Belarus. Okay? If you haven't taken a look at that, it's pretty interesting reading about what they think is going on over there. Then I went ahead last night and read from the International Oil Daily publication about one of the reasons why they think that the spreads in crude oil moved down, and why crude oil had a rally yesterday was because of Nigeria, because there's about 150 people trapped in an offshore something with the locals about to pull the 18th mutiny of the week, and who knows what's going to go on. Okay, maybe that's an excuse, maybe it's not. Then I read one of my favorite publications, which is Helm's Global Trader, which is also someplace here, right, Lewis, on the thing? And this guy, okay, has pretty good technical indicators, has a pretty good feel for the market, so I read all his stuff. Then I read another publication, and by the way, did we give out that handout, Lewis, to everybody? Yeah. You did? We're going to go over that today. Okay? Dennis Gartman, who writes a 4-page letter. And I don't own any part of the Gartman letter. I've met Dennis on 2 occasions. He's a big NC State fan. Okay? The point is, if you want to go ahead, in 4 pages, he probably writes the best newsletter in the country on a daily basis. Okay? Covers a broad range of topics. You don't necessarily have to agree with anything or everything that he says, but the point being is, he probably has the best, concise newsletter in the business, by far and away. So we read that. Then I look at something called the Daily Technical Overview, which is just another part of Helm's stuff. You see what's going on with that. Technical overview, which also you can get on the web. And then I also like to look at other nonsense publications just to see what's going on in the world. I read the Daily Reckoning, okay, which once in a while has some interesting things that make me think. Okay? And then I go ahead, this is besides my own stuff. So then we go ahead, and like I said, I don't know where Joe is. We must have a problem at work, so he's probably late. Okay? But in terms of publications, obviously, if you call around today, okay, what's today in London? Anybody know? What? May Day. Okay, so we go around the world, we know that today's May Day, right? Okay? We factor that into our little equation. So obviously, most of the dealing shops in the UK, and I guess throughout Europe are half size, whatever. Second thing, what else is going to happen today? President Bush is going to declare victory someplace. Okay, with nobody surrendering, but he's just declaring victory. Okay. The third thing is GDP came out. What came out this morning? Anything? Jobless claims. What were they? Anybody know? No. Call Louis. Let's find out what the jobless claims are. Okay? All right? And so it's May Day. The Bush speech is coming today. Tomorrow is the first of the month unemployment report, which is always, there's some book squaring ahead of it. Okay? Right? And also, Louis, you with me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I have a question for you. What were the jobless claims this morning?
The jobless claims came out today at 8:30.
They came out at 8:30. What was the number?
The number came out a little bit bearish.
A little bit bearish. Okay, so now I go ahead and here are the prices. If you can look overnight, the euro currency is trading at 111.61 up 2. Okay, see what it says EC. Lewis, you make this a little brighter. See what it says EC June 03. I'll get this clicker. I probably don't know how to use this again, but let's see. Right there. See this line? This is the line we're going to focus on today. You're going to see why in a second. This line, crude oil, like I said, if we get a chance to do something, okay? And the bonds, obviously, by the way, Otis, when the bonds traded, made the A up yesterday, 113.13. Did they ever trade back below there again? Okay. So the point being is, I know we're still long in Long Island, okay? Half the trade from yesterday, and we've got a full handle in it, okay? No risk. I mean, no pain. No pain. Traded 13.13. It never traded 13.13 again, okay? And for those of you who weren't here, Lewis, just stay on the page I'm telling you to stay on. I'll tell you when to move, okay? All right? Okay? Everybody wants to be a field commander. It's unbelievable. You know, it's unbelievable. All right? So 13.13, okay, you've got a full handle in the trade. Okay. So I know what I want to do in crude oil. I know that if I look at, you all have the handouts. I read the logical trader, comes out, gives me a thing called the pivot on gap day. I know that I've got overhead resistance in crude oil. I know we've had a big move. I know nobody thinks that crude oil is going to go up. I talked to about 6 people last night, 1 or 2 people this morning. They think yesterday was nothing more than a technical correction of what's going on. They're looking for everybody, from Helms to Goldman Sachs to everything, are all looking for the market to stop in the mid-50s. And with University, there's no reason for the crude to go up. There's no reason for the crude to go up. But yet, if I look at my number line sheets that everybody has here in front of you, and I go to crude oil, right? And if I go to crude oil, I see, lo and behold, that crude oil is now back to being a 12 in the number line. So my idea is, everyone says no, this says yes. I know what I'm doing. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, what you won't see is that if you look at Lewis, if you look at the pivot sheet, and Lewis stand there, which I'm going to go fast which is this document. Okay. Okay. If you look at the pivot sheet and you look down to crude oil, you will see that crude has a pivot high rate. The pivot high is 25.88. The pivot low is 25.83, which means we have a 5-tick pivot, right? That is the narrowest pivot in the last 9 days. That is also a consecutively lower pivot in the last 3 days, which means today should be a volatile day in crude oil. So if I get a chance, I know that I'm going to get some type of range extension or some kind of wackiness, whatever the case may be. The market's going to open up higher here, okay? Right? I'm hoping that when the market opens up at 10 o'clock, it doesn't open here. I'm hoping the market opens lower and gives me a chance to use ACD in conjunction with the pivot to make a trade. Because if I just have to make a trade using the, the straight ACD, my risk-reward trade isn't as good, okay? And because I know my client base, it's too early to wait, and they're going to be, the price, yo-yoing the price around back and forth. And, I'm looking for a low-risk entry point. Again, if I don't get a low-risk entry point, maybe I'll still trade, but my size is going to be a lot less because I'm going to bet a lot less chips on the trade if it doesn't happen. Okay, so back to this. I'm looking at this stuff. I know that's a narrow pivot day in not only, it's not in crude oil, it's a narrow pivot day in natural gas, in heating oil. Lewis, these got to be moved. These are no longer Mays. These are Junes. Okay, so change them. All right? These are, okay? In gasoline and heat are all narrow pivot days. Okay? Which means that I'm expecting something wacky to happen. Okay? So at the end of the day, if crude's down $2 or up $2, I told you something, or if it goes like this, I don't expect it to be slow. Okay? So if one of my customers called me up this morning and says, it's raining, I'm watching the cartoons, should I come to work or should I stay home? I would tell them to come to work today. Okay? So that's that. Next, I'm looking at the euro currency, 1166. is where we're trading right now, okay? What's interesting about the euro currency is if you turn to it on this thing, okay? By the way, the one thing negative that really I started to think about last night in terms of crude oil, because again, putting the pieces of the puzzle together, was that 14 people who contracted SARS in Hong Kong, was it? Had a relapse. And I don't think anyone expected anyone to get a relapse. And now they have a relapse because, again, somehow I think this whole SARS thing, everyone thinks that the Far East is going to be the engine that's going to make the world go. The SARS thing, boom, maybe that's why the energy market got whacked to some degree, okay? And now with a relapse, that puts a little thought in everyone's mind. Just another piece of the puzzle. Yeah? Okay. But, I think people are getting over, I don't think anyone from the U.S. has died from it yet, okay? I think that, people are getting a little more, the overall impact, SARS, MARS, people are getting a little more comfortable, that's not going to be, the boomerang played, hopefully. But the point is, relapse, it's just something that, just bothers me. Okay, I'm just giving you my process. So turn to euro currency, which is on page 2 of this number line thing. And there's some interesting stuff on the euro currency. Okay? Again, I'm looking for a low-risk trade. Okay? Okay, where I can put on some size and let them go. So let's look at this. Euro currency. If you look on 319, which is 30 days ago. Okay, actually, you know what, Lewis? Put up the number line sheet for a second. Okay? Go to the number line. Yes, good. Right? Go to the second page. Yes. Go to euro currency. Keep going. There you go. Good, Lewis. Okay, here we go. Make this, okay, here we go. Here we go. So we see 30 days ago in euro currency was the pivot. We had a -1 day, okay, or a negative day, which means 30 days ago in the euro currency, the market opened above the pivot range and closed below the pivot range. It also was a -4 day 30 days ago in the euro currency, which means a -4 value in the ACD means it was a C down. So this was a point C pivot trade 30 days ago in the euro currency. Remember how I said things tend to repeat themselves? Well, if I go 30 days from now, we're on almost all times high in the euro currency, right? Relative to the dollar. Okay? I'll go back and remember something else. Okay? Right? It's May Day. Nobody's there. George Bush is about to sing God Bless America. Okay? All the dealing rooms in London where they've been repatriating dollars into currency, are closed. Okay? Now, the interesting part about this is, if the number line, okay, if I get a value of 3 or something in the euro currency, this number line is going to turn bullish because it's going to go to +9. Remember I told you this 3, let me show you why this 3 works. We're at a 2 now. 30 days ago was a -4. So by dropping a -4, we're getting to a +6. And if I get a 3 or better today, this thing goes to 9, and then I got to be bullish. So if I want to take a shot at being short the euro, okay, and fading an extreme move, okay, if I was to get a situation where the market repeats itself, where the market opened above the pivot today and got below the pivot today, I'd want to get short below the pivot, risking the top of the pivot, right? Because history tends to repeat itself. But again, the thing to concentrate on is the euro currency. The opening range we got to use is 230 to 330, right? Because the market opens there first, and that's the major market. We're not the major market. So now, Lewis, go back to future source, minimize this, and keep this up. Go to future source. Okay. Now you see euro currency is trading now 111.71 with a high of 111.81 with a low of 11.38. Louis, are you on the phone? Put Louis on the phone. Okay. If I go back to my pivot sheet, okay, and I look at, by the way, if I look at euro currency, okay, there's a couple of different ones, and there's a couple of problems with euro currency. Okay. Okay. Lou.
Yes.
Okay. The euro currency in the pivot sheet. The pivot today is 111. Let's see. One of the pivots is 51 to 36. What did you say the real one was if you use it where it is?
49 is the high and 29 is the low.
Okay, so the bottom line being is 49 to 29, 51 to 36, that whole area there. Let's put up a chart of a 15-minute chart. Lewis, remember I showed you how to do it? Okay, 15 minute, good. There we go. Of the euro currency, can we make this a little, so people can put up? Good. Can we make this a little, so people can see this? Good. Okay, here's today. Okay, this is Thursday. This is 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay? Where are we, Lewis? Are you guys, is that the euro currency, Lewis? Okay. Why is it, what day does it say right here? Keep going, all the way to the right. Thank you, Lewis. Lewis, go all the way to the right. It's like a St. Bernard. You got to go ahead and lead him. It's unbelievable. I'll give him a milk bone in 2 seconds. Okay? Here we go. It's unbelievable. Nice, Lewis. Okay, here we go. So, he knows I love him. Doesn't matter. So here we go. Look when the euro currency opens today. 2:30 to 3:30 in the morning opens up here. Right? Okay? The pivot, by the way, is here. The bottom of the pivot. Louis, what's the bottom of the pivot?
111.29.
And on the sheet it's one, because this uses a different volume, it has 111.36. Louis, hit a button here so we can see right now what this number is. You know how to do that? Go over this way, right here. Good. The low right there was 111.38, right? So the bottom line being is the market opened above the pivot, okay, because the bottom of the pivot would be here. This is the opening, okay? It hasn't gotten back below the pivot, and now it's here. So I'm looking for the market to take out this level, okay? I'm looking for the market to take out 111.30, 111.35. Gets below 111.35, 111.30, I'm getting short. So now what's the next thing we do, okay? Where am I getting out if I'm wrong? Very simple. It gets above the top of the pivot, I'm history, okay? Because what I'm hoping for is by 11 o'clock today, it's May Day. What is May Day? Is that Labor Day over there? It's a holiday. It's just another excuse to get out of the office, right? Okay. So I'm hoping they get out of the office. We get into this trade. You know, everyone sings God Bless America. Okay, it's the end of the month. People want to lock in the profit in the euro currency, right? And boom, the market comes in here, and I'm able to go ahead and make some money, pay the housekeeper, and go on. Okay? So can you get 2 people on the phone at the same time or no? No? Okay. Call Mike if you order desk. So now you know the trade. Okay, and again, I'm fading. I'm looking for the market to repeat itself. I'm not selling it here. I'm waiting for the market to show me that I'm right. Okay? I also have a minimal risk trade, because if I sell them around, 35, 25 on a scale down, again, scale down selling, not scale up selling. Okay? And if I get that, I know what's the top of the pivot? We said 51, did he say? 49. And 48, 50. So I'll put my stop in around 57. I risk the 20 ticks, because I think that's a risk-reward trade that's better than 50-50. I think the odds are if we get below 35, if we get below 29, it's probably 65-35 my way. Okay. Mike, you there?
Hello.
Mike.
Yes.
Okay, this is what I want you to do. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Put an order in the June euro currency. Ready? Sell 50 June euro currency on a 111.35 stop. Sell 50 June euro currency on a 111.25 stop. Okay? The 35 stop has a limit of 32. The 25 stop has a limit of 22. Okay? So 111.35 with a stop limit of 32. 111.25 stop with 111.22 limit. Repeat it back to me.
I'm sorry?
Oh, my God. Repeat it back to me.
Okay, I'm going to sell you 50 June euro currencies on a 111.35 stop with a 32 limit. I'm going to sell you 50 on a 111.25 stop with a 22 limit.
Good. Okay, if they get filled, I'll call you back, because I got to tell you where I got to get out of these if I'm wrong.
No problem.
Okay, put them in. I'll call you back.
Thank you.
Okay. So the point is this. I'm selling 100 euro currency. Okay? Okay? So again, okay, not 1 lots, not 2 lots, 100. Okay? May not happen. Okay? But if it happens, the reason why I don't care about selling 100, okay, is, by the way, if I look at my dollar risk sheet, if you go back to this, a 1 lot in the euro currency right now has an average daily risk of, let's see, 876, right? So basically, 1 euro currency is a trade that's equivalent almost to like 1, crude oil intraday, right? So 100 lots is probably the right way to trade for this thing, okay? And what I'm looking to do is, what I'm looking to see is if the market gets there, okay? If it doesn't get there, where is this thing trading, Lewis, now? Where's it trading? Lewis, you got to make this darker, okay? We can't take Lewis on a road show. Look at him. Come on. I want to make it darker. But yeah, go back to the other chart. Go back to the front page where they have all the quotes. I don't need this anymore. Okay. So it's trading 111.63, right? Okay. 111.81 is the high, 38 is the low. I'm going to sell almost on 35 on the 32 stop. And you know what? I don't care. The other problem about what's going to happen is most people who trade, once they get into a trade, right? Okay, what do? They sit there and they tick watch. Rooting it on. Go. Go. The hell, you think that thing cares about you? Go, right? The thing goes up 3 ticks. You're short. Oh. The thing goes down 3 ticks. Yay. what kind of way is that to lead your life, right? Can you imagine being an analyst, going to a psychiatrist? What happened? It's a crazy way to live, right? It's seriously, how can you trade that way? You make a bet, you go invest in a business, you create high risk, low risk, high reward situations, and you do them. That's what trading is about, okay? So again, I'm also thinking that maybe in the back of my mind, okay, one of the things I was thinking about is that there could be some book squaring, ahead of the unemployment report tomorrow, okay? The currency's been going all in one direction, right? I looked on Joe's change of trend sheets that he puts out, the stuff that I don't really understand that works, but I really didn't see, Joe, is there any change in trends in the dollar or the euro currency in the last day or two? Okay. But again, if this trade happens, okay, and hopefully it does happen before we do this, or even if it doesn't happen, okay, I'm not just going to go ahead once this class is over and say, okay, they're all gone, okay, cancel the orders. This is a trade I'm going to do. Right? I didn't do all this homework just to sit here and impress you guys. This is what I do. Okay? The next trade is crude oil is going to open up at 26.20. The problem with crude oil opening so high is that, again, we've got this pivot on gap day range, which I didn't discuss, which is a little complicated, so I didn't go through it, hanging above the market in what area, Joe? 35 to 53 above the market. So to go ahead and buy an A up into that region is kind of a little antsy. Okay? It's not a good. I would hope that for some reason the market opens lower than this, opens up around the 26 buck level. Okay, the pivot for today, which is a narrow pivot, is 83 to 88. We said in crude. All right, it's a low 9-day pivot. The 3-day rolling pivot, which is more of a longer term indicator, is what price, Joe? 79. It's right there. So I'm looking to buy this thing in the low 90s and get myself out in the low 70s. Okay, if something works up, if I get a failed C down, if something happens that allows me to make that trade, that's a good risk-reward trade. Okay? If it doesn't set up, I won't do it. Okay? Again, trading is not about everyone getting your daily fix in the market and sticking the needle in the arm and just trading for trading's sake. Okay? That's psychotic. Okay? That's not running a business. That's not what this course is about. That's not what I'm about. And that's not what my guys are about. Except for RBI, who was here, who'll tell you that he'll just trade for trading's sake. Okay. So the point being, that's the first trade I want to look at. The second trade is bonds. Okay? The bonds have, get Louis back on the phone. Okay? Oh, by the way, okay, the S&Ps are also a 9-day narrow pivot. Lou?
Yes,
Okay, today is an S&P 9-day low narrow pivot, right?
that's correct.
Okay, so look what happens. Okay, this is good. The market's been open in the S&P now. Well, it isn't open yet. But if the market has a low opening range for the first, we use 10 minutes, right, Lou?
10 minutes, yes.
If the market has a small opening range in the first 10 minutes, okay, and the market then, what's the pivot today in the S&P?
The pivot's going to be 915.75 to 916 even.
So it's one tick, one mini tick.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm looking for is that the market can go ahead and give me something to do that I can use that ACD thing with that narrow pivot, right? Can you imagine, right? I mean, it probably won't set up. Can you imagine buying 916 and a quarter, stocking yourself out at 915 and a quarter, risking one handle to make 10? Right? You're looking at me like I'm out of my mind. That's what it's about, okay? That's what it's about, making those trades, okay? I leave the crack trades to the guys on my floor. I'm not going to sit here and bore you with Otis. Let's sell the heat cracks because the utility rates and the refinery rates. After a while, he doesn't know what a utility rate is or a refinery rate. Nobody, I don't even know what it is at this point. Okay? Simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Right? Do your homework. Read whatever you're going to read. Use your own indicators, whatever the case may be. But this is what I'm looking at. So I'm looking at crude oil, if I can get that trade. S&Ps, if God forbid that sets up where I can get an A up through a pivot and risk a handle. Right? And my big trade is this trade, because I really think this is going to happen. Of course, probably 3 minutes after this class is over at 10:30, the market's going to dump, right? And then everyone will look at this paper and say, Jesus, he made money or he got whacked. But even if I get whacked, what am I going to lose? 20 ticks? Lose this? Lose this? Lose this? Get jabbed? Big deal. Who cares? Okay? If you know what you're doing and you treat it like a business, who cares? As long as, if I do 100 lots, 50 and 50 today, the next time I trade, this thing, I'm trading the same unitizers. And if it was really a good trade, And let me ask you a question. Your currency, for all intents and purposes, closes today at 12 o'clock. If you think about it in London time, 2:30, 3 o'clock if it's New York time. If around 11:15 today, 11:30, all of a sudden the market gets below the bottom of the pivot, and all the people who are left on the London desk, which are the junior traders now anyway, got a half hour, and the market makes this move down below the pivot. Is that a better trade for me, or is that a worse trade for me?
Better.
Why is it better?
It's late in the day.
Late in the day. Late in the day, less people, beat them to the thing, close the door and say, sorry, you're stuck in here, fire. Right? Right? So in a way, obviously I want to go ahead and make this trade while you guys are here, but it may happen if this happens later on in the day. And if it doesn't happen at all, so I did my homework. Okay. Anybody have any questions about what we've done so far? Yeah. We had, go back to the chart of the 5-minute euro.
No fade trade.
What? Louis,
Yes.
what, the euro, the 15-minute chart,
Yes.
230, 330, the market make an A up or an A down?
Today,
Yeah,
8 down.
A down. Okay, what was the price of the market made an A down at?
111.59.
Okay, so it made an A down already at 111.59. Where's the C up?
The C up isn't until 111.93.
Okay, so the point is this. If we go ahead, okay, since we made an A down, and by the way, the values that we use for the euro currency, we'll go to the sheet that shows all the A and C values. It's all there. I don't know them all by heart anymore. I'm an old man. Okay? So we go ahead and we go to, hello, good. We go there. We go to euro currency, not euro dollar. There we are, euro currency. And we use a 30-minute opening range, 10 by 13. There it is. All the values are there. It's like, again, I made this thing Evan-proof, right? You just, it's like, anybody have here young children in this room? Anybody here? Raise your hand. This is color by number trading. Okay? That's what this is, with your own thing. Pick the color, just fill it in. Okay? This is what this is. Yes?
My question is, could you be more or less if you're out with the euro and potential, not being out already?
Well, really what I'd love to have happened, to be honest with you, is for the market to not have done this, but to make an A up initially, and then made a C down through this pivot in the last 45 minutes before when all the guys are ready to just go there and go watch Chelsea play, I don't know, Sutherland or something. Okay? Okay? That's what I really like to have happened. That would have been the optimum. Because you know what would happen? If it was a late day point C pivot, and it happened that way, instead of 50 and 50, they'd be 150 and 150. Okay? Because the same thing, the reason why they'd be 150 and 150 as opposed to 50 and 50, it's just like the same concept in blackjack when you get an 11 and the dealer shows 3. Because if you don't double down then, okay, I'm not saying I'm going to sell 500 and 500, okay? If you sell 500 and 500, it's 10 times what you normally do, that's insane. But if you're not willing to go ahead and double down then or triple down then, right, when you have a trade that you know is going your way, when you have a low risk of 20 ticks, when if it doesn't go anywhere in a period of 20 minutes, you're going to get out of half the trade anyway because of time stops, right? What the hell? Okay? And then you have no, there's I used to own a CTA a long time ago until I realized that I didn't want to deal with people and run their money. And it was called F&G. Swear to God, it was F&G Management. Anybody want to tell me what the F&G stood for? You've heard who here wants to take a try at what F&G stands for? Young lady, second from the back, right there. Come on, F&G. 2 adjectives you need to make money to be a successful trader. F&G. The right combination of these 2.
That's it.
Guts? Oh, kind of, okay. Nah, okay. No? How about you? Fear and greed. What? For what? For now? For now. Okay. Thank you, Professor. There's always one person. Okay. I stand corrected. Okay. So the point being is, Louis, this thing is not clear enough. Can you all see that in the monitors too? Right? Okay. Maybe it's clearer there. Okay. So the point being this. The S&Ps, did they open yet? Yeah, they opened. Right? 914.5. Okay. Lou.
Yeah.
We got a small opening range, right? 914 to 915.5. Now look, you see where it says RSPO3? That's just the day session of the S&P. So I know I've got only a 1.5 range. Okay? I know that what's the pivot?
Pivot high is going to be 16.
And the low?
75.
Oh my God. So if this could just stay within a 4-handle range and I can do something, right? Okay. So for instance, if 15.5 is the range, and after the first 10 minutes of the day, okay, the market takes out 16. Okay, even though it hasn't made an A up yet, I probably would buy them someplace between 16 and 17, risk of like 15, and see if it makes that A up and see what happens. Okay? Okay? Or, okay, if the market doesn't do this, okay, but market makes an A down, and this could be what's called a pivot first hour high, and towards the end of the first hour trading, okay, the market's on the bottom end of the extreme, and the pivot is sitting right on top of the market, right? I'm going to get short. Again, the attraction is that I think that something's going to happen today in the S&P. I have no idea if it's going up or going down or doing one of these, ding, 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 you know, but it's going to do something. Okay? All right. Next question. See, the point is this. I always figure that if I get an A down, right, I'm going to sell half there. Okay? And I wait, and I try to, and every time I try to mastermind my entry points, okay, I know one thing. If I sell something and it doesn't go my way in a little bit, next, right? So, you know, if you worry too much about massaging where you're getting exactly, except, again, I want to create, you know, if it's a pivot first hour high low, I'm getting in after the first hour, 10:30. If it's going to be on an A down, I'm going to get, you know, like it looks like it's going to be, you know, I want to get in when the A down happens, okay? If it's going to be something that goes right through the pivot, I want to buy it right above the top of the pivot, risk to a little bit below the bottom of the pivot. I mean, obviously, you can't buy something at 9.16 and risk to 9.15, so you'll get stopped out in the first tick. So you got to give it a little room, okay? In crude oil, which is going to open up at 10 o'clock, you know, heating oil is stronger than gas, natural gas is unchanged, right? And the euro currency is trading 70, so we've got nothing to do yet, okay? But I've got my game plan, okay? And I may do nothing, okay? And when you go home, when your spouse, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever it is, says to you, what did you do today? Trading, and you say nothing. And she says, why are you doing nothing? You say to her, because that's the right thing to do. Okay? Right? Because it's not about, you know, the best traders, okay, to sit on their hands 80% of the time. Okay? Okay? The best traders, when they don't know something, instead of going ahead and saying, well, I think this, and that, they go, I don't know. Okay? Right? That's what people do. I have no idea if Otis's crack position is going to work out. Okay? I hope it does for him. He could use the money. Okay? But I have no idea. Okay? Because I'm not focused on that. Okay? I'm focused on three things. I'm long crude. I've been long crude for a while. I told you yesterday. I'm long the grains. Okay? On a long-term position, God only knows. I went through my whole speech yesterday about the back month curve in crude oil. Actually, just to bore you guys a little bit, since we're waiting for this, and we can't do anything for this. Lou, hit F8, hit RED. Okay? How many people here think that short-term rates are going to go in the next 2 years above 3%? Does anyone know where the short-term? You all think it's going to go above 3%? You know where the short-term rate is right now? The overnight rate is 1.25. So you think the economy is going to improve enough that the Fed is going to be able to, without raise short-term rates back to above 3%? Couldn't know. I'm asking you for a bet. What do you think? Or do you think that we're becoming like Japan and we're just, excuse the expression, screwed? That basically we're going to be in this low interest rate environment where people are not going to be able to save any money, okay? Where retirees are not going to be able to live on their fixed incomes anymore, okay? And we're just going to be in this general malaise of for a while. What do you think? What do you think? Right? He's an old man that he shouldn't have, you know. I mean, seriously, you listen, by the way, anybody that follows Alan Greenspan's career, if you look back at his track record when he was, when he was a forecaster, he stunk. He was worse than him and Jerry Siegel, the two of them, right? Okay? It's like the blind leading the blind. I know I'm going to get into trouble for that, but okay. So the point being is, one of the things that I do is I look at the Eurodollar curve, okay? And I look out here and I say, okay, this Eurodollar curve is nothing more than 90-day money. Okay, so let's look at like DSO 4, which is now trading 97.55. That means if you buy this contract, you're buying, it's in $1 million increments, you're going to be buying, you're buying an interest rate of it's the inverse to 100. You're buying an interest rate of 2.45% for 90 days, okay? Okay, from December of 04, I guess, to March of 05, okay? So basically, you're locking in an interest rate of 2.45%. Okay? Now, that may be good for you. That may not be good for you, depending on what your situation is. You may not have $1 million that you want to invest. You may have more if you're running corporate funding. You know, all these people want to do ladder strategies. All they're doing is they're hedging it right here in this euro-dollar market anyway. But if you go further out, the curve is in such backwardation because people think that the economy is going to improve. But if you look out here, you can lock in 05 money for 90 days at almost 3.7%. Okay? So this curve, okay, I trade a lot also. I don't really trade. What I really do is just buy them and hold them because I think that we're done. You know, in my opinion, I think we're just in this general malaise for the next couple of years. You know, and basically, since I know also, the interesting thing is, okay, if any of you are tax people, when if the current curve stays the way it is and everything just rolls up, if you're buying TISO 4 euro dollars at 2.45% and interest rates stay at 1.25%, and we go up to, you know, and this thing rolls up to 98.77. Well, when it comes to prompt time, what you would have done in actuality is you're only going to be able to invest at 1.25% for the 90 days. But the money that you made on this contract is not taxed at ordinary income. It's taxed at the 60-40 commodity income rate, which is a blend, you know, which is much cheaper. You know, it's a 28% max rate as opposed to getting taxed at a 40% rate. Okay, now I completely bored everybody. Let's get out of that. That's my Wharton MBA talking, so I'm sorry. Okay, let's go back to the market. I don't want anyone to fall asleep. Lou?
Yes.
Anything else you see?
Right now we're just in a hanging pattern around 913, 914.
Okay, so the question is this. See, and this is good. The market's open. Is this the slowest day you've seen so far? Right? Anyone follow the S&P here? None of you. Everyone. Nobody follows the S&P?
It's slow.
It's dead. Good. So what's going to happen is dead. You know what I'm trying to say? Slow, right? But I'm thinking that later this day it's going to get busy. This is the perfect day. Narrow opening ranges, put people to sleep, right, and catch people off guard, right? As opposed to 10-handle opening range. What's that name? The Money Honey going on TV, going up and down. We're going up. We're going up. You know, this is much better. Everyone's. Luke, can you get to CNBC? Go to CNBC. I bet you they're like, well, you know, you'll see the cheerleaders are all taking a break. You know, watch. Let's see what they got. Okay, go back when you get that back. Go back when you get it back. Okay. Okay. Well, they're even showing a mellow commercial. We'll wait till they get back.
Yeah, they're on commercial.
Wait, you see, you know, there's no hyperactivity. You won't see her on the floor with some old guy running around and say, "I've been in the market 60 years." You know, okay. You know that's. You know, and again, what you do is once I have a position on in the S&P, because so many ridiculous investors watch that stupid stuff that I'm forced to watch it. Okay, just because I got to see what the morons are listening to. Okay, so what ends up happening is once I get this position is, let's say I buy the stuff. Let's say I can get this stuff. You know, after 10 minutes, the market starts to get above 916. I say, "Oh, screw it. Let's take a chance. Let's buy some minis." Right? So we buy some minis, and then I got to turn on CNBC, and then I hear the level, and all of a sudden you say, reporting from before. Well, the market starts to move up, and there goes cheerleader one. The next person, the pom pom goes up in the air, and when I start seeing those pom poms go up in the air, I say, "Uh-oh, time to get out of here." Right? Okay. So someone asked me in this class, when you get out of your winners, right? Okay. When you start seeing, you know, me, I do it that way. I have the CNBC index. I have all kinds of indices that I use. You know, all of a sudden you see Maria, who looked like death warmed over. And if you saw her 20 minutes ago on TV, you know, she's got her makeup on, she's got a happy face. You know, you know, it's getting time. You know, again, this is how I do it. Okay, and the bottom line being is, Louis, you make sure we're hooked up to the Squawk Box. Okay, because we're going to use crude oil, and you can hear the level of the noise. The differences in the level of noises, okay? And what you're hoping for is, the question I like to ask is it slow, is it busy? I'll call up 5 people and say, what do you think? It's dead. What do you think? If I had a narrow pivot situation, which I do today, in the first half hour, it's too bad, you know, this thing's ending at 10:30, okay? But I'll be back at 3 o'clock, and we'll figure out how much money I lost today. But if everyone's asking me, it's dead, it's dead, it's dead, it's dead, I told you. When I tell you to switch back, switch back. Okay? All right? Holy mackerel. Okay. So anyway, the point being, here we go, 914.70. You know what we're going to do? Louis.
Yes.
You're going to put a TT order in for me pretty soon.
Okay.
Okay?
We got the A values if you need them.
What are you doing? Does anyone want to take him home? Seriously, do me a favor. Okay? 914.80. Ready? Lou.
Yes.
Buy me 100 minis on a 916 and a quarter stop.
You got it.
Okay? So now what I'm saying is, well, so wait, you gotta wait. So now what I'm doing is I'm buying 100 minis. If anyone knows that is, okay? Actually, Louis.
What?
Make it only 50.
50 at a buy stop at 916 and a quarter.
Right.
Okay.
50 minis is like 10 S&Ps. Okay? Okay? Because if it gets to 916 and a quarter, gets to the top of the pivot, it's been a slow day, blah, blah, blah. We'll see what happens. Okay? And I don't want to, and you've got to put these orders in advance in the minis, because otherwise, you know what happens. If your order's not there, you know, they just
Mark,
blow you away. Yeah.
just keep in mind we got the ISM coming out at 10.
See? You do?
What?
You do?
Yes.
Okay. What time is it?
It's 9:45.
Good. Leave it in.
Leave it?
I don't
Okay.
even know what ISM is, but it sounds good. Okay.
Very good.
Okay. But the point is this. Okay. But everyone's now the ISM's coming at, okay? That's the, Louis,
Yes.
with that number, 96, can you put a limit how much we're going to get filled up to?
Yes, of course.
Okay. I want to put a top on that order at 916.50. I don't want to pay more than 916.50.
Got it.
Okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Why do you do the minis rather than the big ones?
You know why? Because for me, I like to auto-execute myself in the minis because there's no edge to doing it in the pit. Okay? There's enough volume there. You can actually, if you put up a TT screen, put up a TT screen. Now you can go to TT. What are you doing? See, because I can see all the volume. Okay? This is, by the way, this is for anyone who hasn't ever seen one of these machines. Has everyone, who hasn't seen one of these things? You haven't seen one of these things? This is crack. This is crack. This is legit. Okay? Look, let me show you the volume. There's 1,000 bit for. Look, you can just hit a button. It's like playing Nintendo. Ding, 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 ding. It's ridiculous. Okay? You can sit there, right? Okay, Torben, where are you? You back still here? Right? This is all he did. Here's a crack addict, an S&P crack addict in the back with a suit on. Okay? All you do is sit there, right? What did you do? You went to when you were in King Street, you sat there with your eyes like this, all day long, right? Let me ask you, what? Just that monitor. No prices, no nothing. No nothing. Can you imagine this? That's why he's going to therapy 6 times. Wait a second. Question about that. When you did this, listen to how sick this was. What was your average duration of your trade? 3 seconds. That's why you got issues, right? Okay. So anyway, oh my God, right? Then he made the decision, you know, he's a punk like everybody else. He goes over to Ireland, you know, goes over there with some Playmate of the Year. She leaves him. He's back in New York, homeless and desperate. Anyway, I'm teasing. So here we go. So this is what we're doing. We know where it is. I already have my order in to buy him at 916 up there. There's a lot of wood up here. But again, this thing, look at this thing. Okay? This thing is like, it's insane. Okay? And by the way, the reason why this works in the S&Ps, and the reason why this will not work in energies, is because in the S&Ps, 99% of the volume is all front month. Okay? In energies, 99% of the volume is not front month. There's no spreading here. It's all this, and that's it. Okay? That's why this works so well in S&Ps. That's why this works so well in bond futures. That's why I think that the IPE, now that they announced, did anyone read the IPE announcement this morning in the International Oil Daily? No? Is anyone here trade Brent crude?
Very quiet.
You do? You see what they announced this morning? The second stage where they're going to take the 9 to 1 o'clock session and try to move it to a screen and see how they did that? Again, I read everything. I've read already 350 pages this morning of this nonsense. Reading, yes.
What's front money?
Front month. Okay? Front month. You know what? Come on, come sit up here. You know, sit here next to him. Come on. Association for Retired People. No, go ahead. Sit. Okay? The point being is, okay? So here we go. So there's an ISM number, which I know, which is, you know, if that number comes out below 50, it's, you know, that means the economy's big, but it's already in the market. I'm looking to do this. Louis, what time is it?
9:45.
Okay. So, and where would be the A right now? So we've got the 10 minutes. What's the A up with the A down?
9:19 to 9:09:50.
What is it?
9:19 is the A up. 9:09:50 is the A down.
Okay. So that's the 2 levels. That's the 2 breakout levels. But I don't want to wait to 9:19, okay? Because I'm thinking in my mind, I can get a low-risk trade. If it gets to 9:16 and a quarter, if it doesn't go, I'm going to get out, right? And if it gets to 9:19.50, if someone asks me, that's where I would add. You know the word that you like, add? Okay? That's where I would add. Okay? And again, I'm just going to risk maybe a little below the pivot initially, and then it gets to an A up, we should even get back to the pivot, and we should be off to the races. because it's been a very narrow range so far. Okay? And it's been a narrow range. People are saying, screw it, whatever the case may be. Go back to future source. Leave that, minimize that. Let's see what else is going on. Where's the euro currency? 1164, still no action. Okay? The bonds are still going up, right? I still got half my bonds from yesterday, but that's a system trade, right? We're trading there. The S&Ps are trading near the low. The euro dollar is here. That's it. DSO is off its high. Crude oil is going to open in, I don't know. Is this the right time, Lou? Probably not. It's 9:50 something. This time says 9:40 something.
It's 9:48.
What time does that say that? Okay, good for you. All right. So this is this. This is the whole package. Now, wait, go to, let's see what else we can look at in the meantime. Okay, British pound is strong. By the way, anyone, the Canadian dollar. Remember we talked about the Canadian dollar in the class? And we said that, that Canada has a higher level of interest rates, the Canadian economy is doing better. And after that, if you would have bought that SARS, whatever, WHO dip, okay, that bad news, good action, the market's only gone one way since then, straight up in Canada. The Canadian dollar's just gone one way, up. Okay. So anyway, we go here, gold, I was long, I got stopped out like an idiot on the low. Okay. There's this. I'm just waiting. We got to wait for crude to open. Here are the S&Ps, 912.5. Louis, what's the A down?
In what?
In the S&Ps.
909.50.
Okay. So here's another thing we could probably do. If you want to take a shot. Okay? I'm getting low risk trades. It's crazy days, right? The pivot could be the high. That'd be an interesting thing. 909.50. If the market goes ahead, gets down to 909.50, 909.25, 910, and immediately bounces, maybe we take a shot. We don't buy 50 minis. Maybe in a case like this, we probably only buy 10 minis, because it's probably 1/5 of the good of a trade. And we try to buy them at 910, risk a failed day down, that rubber band thing we talked about, right? And get out if it doesn't go anywhere in 10 minutes. Okay? But that's not a good trade. The best trade is if this thing, after this ISM thing comes out. Louis.
Yes.
What are they looking for in this ISM number? Who knows?
Yeah, they're looking for similar to what yesterday came out, a little bit higher than last month.
Okay. All right. So that's that. So we got everybody. While we're waiting, anybody have any questions? This is the time to ask. Yes.
The euro currency, you said 30 days ago was a minus, so you think there's a chance today that there'll be a minus?
That the market's going to sell below the bottom of the pivot.
And where did you get the 30 days ago, what the number was? Was that on the sheet too?
It's there. It's all there. It's all there. Just look 30 days ago. You can see. Yes.
You talked about when you have a stock trade, and you listen to CNN and there's a lot of chat, and too many people are saying it's
Whether it's a stock trade or whether it's a futures. Go ahead.
what do you use commodities?
What do you mean?
Well, like you said, when you listen to the cheerleader saying that
Well, here's what you mean. What I listen to commodities. Okay, here's what I do. Number one, okay, I listen to the squawk boxes from the CME, which we don't have hooked up here. I apologize, and the CME from the floor, and the squawk box from NYMEX. Number two, I know enough yentas in the business, okay, and enough loonies that I call the phone and go, what do you think, 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 what do you think? I'm like, what do you think? I'm like my own Gallup poll, okay? Okay? Or I do it, or I call different people and keep doing that, okay? So because there's not that flow of information like there is in, in this, I have to do it myself. But I'll tell you something else. If Paul Jones is right, I don't know how many people here attended his lunch. The food stuck. What? Another thing I get in trouble. What? Okay. What he said, I agree with. Some point in the next 5 years, if we get if inflation comes back to some degree, okay, any degree, okay, gold, okay, yes, is still an inflation barometer, but really crude oil, okay, is really the inflation barometer. And what he said yesterday, if you weren't here to listen to it, okay, was the fact that while we're trading maybe a couple $100,000 a day in crude oil, okay, if inflation came back, that number would go. He said it, not me. Okay, that number would be multiplied by a factor of 10. 10. Okay.
You agree with that?
You see? Yes, I do. Okay, to make it short. So, anyway, that's where we stand. Okay? Crude's going to open up. We're going to get the opening range. We're going to call Serpico to get the opening ranges, right? Okay? Again, all this information I've already read. Okay? I've already read all this morning. I already read all these. I already read this package, which is called, here, let me show you what the package is. You know the good thing about reading also is, I'll tell you something else. You can read something and you can say to yourself a lot of times, he's definitely wrong. A lot of times I'm able to formulate certain ideas because I know somebody is wrong. Okay? And the package that I'm looking for is over here. Okay. So also, what I would use is, to trade this thing, are the playbooks. So if we're going to make a trade in the S&Ps, right, I could just look at this page if you have it. Okay? You can pull this out. Okay? And watch. None of my trades are going to set up. You're going to say, oh, he didn't trade. It's full of whatever. Okay? Okay? The S&P playbook. Okay? And I say to myself, okay, here's the description of all price levels. Sort of like that TT machine, right? We'll put the TT machine back up. Okay, there we are. So so the way Joe does this is that he formulates it into that same kind of TT monitor. Hey, that's pretty good, Lou. Okay. So what he does is, if you look, 9, 16, 10, yesterday some with the pivot range, unusually small pivot range. We tell you again, right? Even if I didn't see it, someone else is telling me it is. I know that 921.5 is yesterday's high. I know that 923.70 is a weekly high, right? Okay. All the information that I need to know. Yesterday's low was 910 even. What's today's A down, Louis?
Hello?
Lou.
Yes.
Stay by the phone. And okay. Here's the question. What's today's A down in the S&Ps?
8 down in the S&Ps is 909.50.
Okay. Yesterday's low is 910 even.
That's correct.
So if I get a bounce, if we take out yesterday's low, trade 909.50, trade 909 even or 99.50?
909.50.
Okay, trade 909.50. Even if I trade 909 even, that one tick doesn't matter if it's instantaneous and we get back above yesterday's low.
Okay, so if we trade a point or so below yesterday,
Well, I immediately get back above it.
Yeah.
Right? I got all the trades. So you may have to hit the button when does this thing come out? 10 o'clock? At the
this
same
thing
time.
comes out in about 2 minutes, yeah.
Okay. At the same time, we got to watch crude oil and the euro currency. Do we need to do anything with it? Do we
Right.
need to tick watch? No. We got the orders in. We got the game plan set. That's over with, right? Okay. The S&P trade is a much more short-term trade. Euro currency, based on what the description is I went over with you guys, is a longer-term trade. Okay. We've got defined points of risk. We've got defined entry points. We don't need to do anything. I don't need to look at that. So the good thing about that is, in terms of productivity use of my time, I don't need to spend any more time in it. Those are better trades than these ridiculous S&P trades or crude oil trades. Because you know what? Here I set the setup, I put it in, boom, it happens. It doesn't, nothing happens. Here, I got to wait for this ISM report to come out, right, and see if there's something to do. And hopefully that Louis clicks the right button, buys instead of sells, and does the right thing. And Louis doesn't hang up the phone on him. Okay. Anybody have any other questions while we wait? Yeah. I was long gold because I felt the number line was still positive. Okay, I had gotten a good A up. I had gotten it above a 3-day rolling pivot. I got long. I put my stop in below the 3-day rolling pivot on a good A down. I got stopped out based on system stuff. Okay, of course that A down was a bad A down. I was long. How many lots was there? 150. 150 cost me about $125,000. Took 2 days and that was it. And story over. And of course, the minute I got out, 2 days later, the market rallied from 23 is trading. What is gold trading? I don't know. 40. It's only $17 on 25, on her. Okay, thank you for rubbing it in. So that's only, who knows. But you can't worry about it. Again, it's monopoly money. Back to that concept. It was a good trade. I had my good points of reference. I got out. Didn't work. Next. Louis.
Yes, Mark.
Just stay with me. Tell the rest of your office to just chill out.
Okay.
Okay?
You got it.
They can handle things, all right?
Very good.
Okay?
All right.
Huey Lewis, it's unbelievable. Okay. So now I got this. I got Mike doing that order. We're going to have to call Harry person. Get Harry on the phone. Okay? Louis, we're going to cut you off, but stay there. Don't move.
I'm here.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. Get Harry on the phone. Yeah. Right, but the setup didn't work. Setup didn't come back. I know. Hang up on Lou. We got, okay? Go get Harry. So we'll call him the crude pit. We're going to ask him where the market's, what do you think is on the opening? Or where we are. And hopefully he'll tell me that the market's not coming in trading 26.18, but the market comes in around $26. But wait, we use the true opening range, right? Okay? Because this is going to be a shorter term trade. Again, the problem with this is, let me tell you how I trade crude oil. I look for conferring indicators. I want to see if Brent crude oil is actually making the same signal, or has already, as New York crude oil does. So if Brent crude oil has already made an A up, and New York makes an A up, and gasoline makes an A up, you know. Okay, Harry. Harry. Is Harry? I think you're talking to Harry. Harry.
Hello?
Harry.
Yes, hi Mark. How are you? Good morning.
How are the donuts this morning?
No donuts this morning. I had a bagel and I went to the gym already, Mark.
You did?
Yeah.
What time are you going to the Kentucky Derby?
We are leaving here at 3:30 promptly.
Promptly.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question for you. What's the call?
The call, we're looking about 25 to 30 higher.
Right.
We're looking about 26-10 bid in the ring in June.
All right. How many? Is everybody there? Is half the people there, or everyone packed up, just ready to go to the Kentucky Derby and just?
Well, everyone's here, but
have
they
a
are
wild-on show.
They're putting an open bar up on the 10th floor at 11:30, so you won't see anyone here after 12 o'clock.
See, you know what? Now you think that's unimportant? Guess what? That is one of the most important things you're going to hear all day. What he just said. Think how insane that is. You don't hear that on a desk in El Paso, whatever. There's an open bar starting at 11:30. The Kentucky Derby party starting. So if the market has remember I told you this. I'm expecting a wild day, right? Right. Half the people leave. Harry, what time are you going up to the open bar?
Me? I don't drink while I work, Mark.
Harry?
I swear to God, I don't.
Harry?
I do not.
Okay. So the point being this. Here's the situation. See,
Yes.
this is why you need the information. Did he tell me anything that was insider trading? No. Did he tell me anything you can see from a screen? No. But now he told me a lot of the liquidity providers, okay, who are looking forward to going down to the Kentucky Derby. How's Bobby Sticks going to be this week down there?
Bobby Sticks will be the drunkest guy in Kentucky.
Okay. So the point being is, oh, he's a good broker. So if you use him, I'm not trying to disparage him. But the point being is
at 12 o'clock today in crude oil, 10 of the 15 biggest locals will not be in this ring.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if a move's going to happen, okay, and it's going to be exaggerated, what's going to happen at 1:30 where they go, oh my God?
They're going to come running down from the bar and they'll be shooting.
Right. Okay? So this is all, this is good. Okay? This is all information that you need to have. This is why you need a broker who knows what he's doing. This is why Harry, who I love, is the best.
Mark, don't say the name of my company, though, okay?
What?
Don't say the name of my company.
This is like Harry, say the name of your company. We can give you a plug. Harry, say the name of your company.
Energy Links Futures.
S&P, here they go.
There we go.
91080. Okay, we'll call you back, Harry. Go.
You want to wait for the open? I got 8 seconds.
We'll call you back. Go back to Louis.
Okay. Bye.
There we go. Yes. You have a speed dial. You know a speed dial is going bing. Louis. Louis.
Yes.
Okay. Where are we? Did the number come out yet?
The number is not out yet. Just came out? Yeah.
Oh.
No, not yet.
Even though this is going to be a good one. Look at crude open. Because again, I want to buy him, right? What are our risk down to? In the 80 range, right? So I'm going to try to buy this and risk it fairly down. Not yet? Yeah, it had to come out. Louis, it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, they're coming out right now, this second.
No, but maybe they'll plug it. So, it never works. The government never works the right way. Did it come out?
Yep, it just came out. I don't know the results yet.
Well, you can see it in the market.
The market's coming off.
Right.
We're at 910 even.
908? There it is. God. 908, 909 is below an A down. No trade to make. Louis.
Yeah.
Okay, leave it alone. Now, I'll tell you something else, which would be interesting. I'm going to still leave that order in the S&Ps. You know why? Because if the reaction to this move, there's no trade for me to make here except to sell an A down in the hole. Okay?
Came out weaker than expected, Mark.
Okay, I'm not really interested in that. What I'm looking to see is if, remember I said S&P is going to be a pretty wild day today. If later in the day, the market, Louis, how many lots we got on the S&P? What's the stop for how many lots?
For us?
Yeah.
We have 15.
No. How many lots did I tell you to buy in the 916?
Oh, 50.
Good, increase it to 100.
You got it.
Because now it's a better trade for me. Because now if the market's showing early weakness, right? If the market gets above the pivot, okay, we'll be stopped out of a short bias because we'll be above the top of the opening range, right? So we'll be neutral, correct? I'm not going to buy him here, okay? People say, why would you buy him at 916 if you think they're going up at 997? Because I don't know they're going up. I'm trying to create these situations that if it gets back above the top of the opening range, which starts me out being neutral, and now gets above the top of the pivot, boom, hopefully people get caught, and I can buy these things, okay? It would be a point C pivot too? Really? No, and why? The market opened up What was the pivot range? Yeah, it would be a point C pivot, correct. It would be a point C pivot, because if the market went ahead, because what do we use for a C in the S&Ps? Oh my God, this is a good one.
16.
Well, I'm going to have to increase my size even more. See, that's why I need Joe here for. Louis,
Yeah,
what do we use for the S&P C? Half a handle?
half a handle, so 916 even.
Look at this. So we got the C up at 916. We got the S and we got the pivot range being 915.75 to 915 what?
916 even.
Right? Okay. We already got the market going down, right? The number line. Let's look at this because it's not happening yet. What's the number line in the S&Ps?
You talking to me?
Yeah. What's the number line? Look at
23?
these sheets. Are we in a positive mode? What's the number line?
Positive.
What?
It's
23.
plus,
So we're bullish. Are we
20.
coming? Where have we been the last couple of days before that?
We've been hanging around 23, 27, 29.
Okay, so we're over here, right? So we're in positive mode for the number line, right? We got a bearish report for the S&Ps, right? George Bush is about to sing "God Bless America" with Kate Smith's younger daughter. Okay, is she dead? Kate Smith? She's dead, right? She's got to be dead. Richie, you know her. Did you date her? How did you know? Okay. Anyway, so the point being is, this is Louis.
Yes,
How many lots are we going to buy at 916 and a quarter?
100.
100, make it 200.
200 and 916 and a quarter.
Right.
Okay.
Now, why am I doing this? Because now the trade becomes better, right? It may never happen. Okay? I've got orders now in, where's crude oil trading? 15, right? Okay? Lou, underneath where it says CL July 03, put in R, underneath, right? Put RCL June 03. So I can just see what the day session is in crude oil. Again, on future source, that shows me the day session. That's it, 26 even. So what are you doing? Okay. All right, that's the day session crude. Okay? So here's the situation. I know if the market gets to where in crude oil, that, Joe, what's the bottom of the pivot? 83, and your number is 79?
All these longs.
79. Okay, this is what we do. Ready? Go get Harry back on the phone. Lou, we're going to call you right back.
Okay.
Okay?
Bye.
Right? So now, guess what? I'm much more comfortable with the S&Ps. Guess what? Now I've got a trade that's a longer-term trade. It's a better trade. I don't need to look at that crack machine, okay, anymore. That's what you look at this thing. Look at these addicts trading this thing. This is like, it's insane. Okay? So guess, Louis, get rid of the TT machine. We don't need that right now. I got the trade in. How many S&P did I tell him to buy? It's only a number. What's the difference? Okay? 200, right? Okay? I have a defined stop. You have a question? Why didn't I take the A down? Because it's a random A down. The trend's still long, right? You can pick every A down, and usually, most of the cases in the S&Ps, okay, A downs, 3.5 out of 5 A's don't work in the S&Ps. It's the only thing that actually could work, that maybe later, why this could work is at the end of the first hour at 10:30, if the market was on the low of the day, okay, within the last near the bottom 20%, and it was on a good A down, then it could be a pivot first hour high. Then my thinking would be, okay, I got to sell this a little bit because it's a pivot first hour high to see if I get the range expansion down, and if it doesn't go anywhere, I get out of it. So I'm going to go both ways. I go both ways. Okay? Harry.
Hi, Mark.
Oh my God.
Real
Harry,
busy.
Look, Harry.
Yes.
Are they done with the opening rotation already?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Are they done with the?
Yes, we're opening now. We're trading 26.12 in the June. 26.10 now. 30 higher we're trading. 10
Okay.
bid.
This is what we do. You ready, Harry?
Go ahead.
So I want to try to fail. I want to try. You see, now this is a bad trade.
Mark, I really can't hear you.
Just calm down. Chill out. Hold on a second. Harry, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can, yeah.
Okay. Here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to do something using the ACD system. It's about 8 to 10 ticks, right? Using the fact that I know that the pivot, okay, is 10 ticks below that, and the 3-day rolling pivot. So 90 is the A down. 80 below 80, I want to get out anyway, right? Okay, and I want to see it bounce, right? Harry.
Yes.
Buy 60 June crude at 25.91. 25.91.
Okay, how many lots, Mark?
60.
60.
And sell 60 June crude on a 25.75 stop.
25.75. You sold the same amount on a stop.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.
So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to catch that one move down to get a failed A down, right? Give myself a little room so when all my customers put all their prints, right? Hopefully the market bounces, right? I'm looking for a pretty busy day in energy, right? I've got a 16 tick risk, maybe a little more, 20 tick risk, okay, because by the time I get filled, right? But I'm not trading 200 I'm not trading, to trade 200 mini S&P would be which is 40 big S&P, right? Which is a much better trade. 40 big S&P, if I had the same degree of confidence in this crude oil trade, okay, as I did in the S&Ps, how many crude oil would I be trading? Look on the dollar risk sheet. Tell me how many crude oil I would be trading. 40 S&Ps equates to how many crude oil? And now I can't find the sheet. I got thousands of pieces of paper up here.
The dollar risk on this sheet is based on the big S&P?
There's a dollar risk on that sheet is based on big S&P. Yes, not little S&P. Here it is. Okay? If you go back, oh, by the way, we can't buy the euro currency anymore. Look, the euro currency made an A down and a C up. You see that? It's trading 112 even. You see that? Good. You see that? Trading 112 even. So it's kind of, even though it can get below the pivot, call back Mike at the order desk. So now it's not as good of a trade anymore because it made that C up. And if it goes down below now, it's like a crazy kind of bloody day. It's not that same trade that I wanted. Mike. Mike.
Yes, Mark.
How many euro currencies are we selling at each price on stop?
We're going to sell you 50 at each price on a stop.
Cut them in half, so only 25 at each price.
25 only now.
Good.
You got it.
Because the market made a C up, and if it went back there, they'd be on a D as opposed to being on an A down. It's not a good enough trade, so I cut the size in half.
I
Again,
understand.
not as many indicators line up, cut your size. Okay? So far we're sitting here just talking, and we haven't done a single thing, but that's okay. Again, at 10:30, at the end of the first hour, if the S&P is going to be still trading on the low, I'm going to be forced to sell something because it's going to be that pivot first hour high trade. Because the pivot, 9:15, the pivot's sitting right above it. It's pretty close to that, that concept of the pivot that we discussed yesterday. Not exact, The bonds over here. That's it. So we got three different things going. This, and this. Okay. Anyway, answer the question. 40 S&P is equivalent to how many crude oil? Really? Yeah. It's about 140 crude. Okay? Right? Because I have on, right? Right. But I don't think the crude trade is a good of a trade. That's why I cut the crude trade. That's why the crude trade is a smaller number. Again, you've got to go ahead and say to yourself, how big of a bet I want. Michael, are you still with me? Or you hung up? Okay, let's go back to Louis. Okay? Now, here's the situation. I may not get a chance on a short-term basis to buy crude today. Okay? Because crude just made an A up. Actually, call Serpico. Before you do that, call Serpico. Okay? Yes? Yeah, to see if it's good or not. Upstairs, yeah. That's right. I'm not, I'm trying to say that's where the problem is. We're going to have a problem here. That's what I'm hoping, because there, I'm hoping it's the opposite. I'm hoping that it doesn't stay there for more than 20 minutes. Because if it sits there for more than 20 minutes, I'm out of the trade. Richie,
Yeah.
what's the opening range in crude today?
In crude, $26 to $26.15.
Right? And what about in gasoline?
Gasoline opening range 79.80 to 80 cents.
79.80 to 80 cents. And what about in heating oil?
Heating oil 6,900 to 69.50.
Okay. Good. Okay. Nat gas?
Nat gas, true opening range 536 to 538. I don't know if you want to use the half hour because of the number.
Yeah, there's a number coming. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
How much time we got left? 20 minutes? Okay. So here's the situation. Okay. The reason why nat gas, Louis, put down here RNG June 03. Okay. The reason why RNG, just add an R in front of that and put it down here. The reason why natural gas is slow is why? AGA number comes out at 10:30. So all it is book squaring, people putting up prints. Nobody's going to really do anything until 10:30. Yeah.
You don't talk much about linkage, but I'm just curious, would a better trade sitting in that than linked to bonds and railing?
Nope. I don't do that because you know why? Because everyone looks at that. Everyone looks at bonds to S&Ps.
Because you had a pivot right above the opening range, right?
Right.
And you could use that as something to lean against, so you would have...
I'm long a little bonds anyway here. Go, Louis, go to the ready screen. Go to the ready screen. Gold gold's up $2. Euro currencies on this thing.
NWEN. Trading.
Louis,
Yes.
just stay with me.
We got it.
Okay. Where is this thing? Go to the big. Not go to my box. Oh, you just have my box. Can you go to the whole ready screen? Get everyone's box. Let's see where we are. So all these guys who trade, who all trade proprietarily for me, you know, we can see where they stand because I got to just keep the track on where they are. Okay. Anybody have any questions? We've got all set. We're going to wait to try to buy crude oil here, right? If we buy it, okay, if our opening range, if it doesn't go anywhere in the first, in 10 minutes, even if we're not stopped out because it doesn't trade 25.75, I'm out, okay? That point C pivot trade in the S&Ps, right? I would love to buy 200 S&P, risk, and then if I get filled, I'm risk a handle, right? Okay? It's a perfect setup for a point C pivot. It's a good thing, right? Those are the trades. That's a trade you dream of. Consolidation in a trend. George Bush about to say, "God bless America." Bad report. Everyone early day weakness. Blah blah blah. Market gets to a point C pivot where the pivot and the C are right next to each other, and it's this big. Oh my God! Right? And then the euro currency, which did not line up, which started to line up, and then I cut the size because it made a C up later in the day. Okay? Who's got a question? Yes.
The daily pivot range on gold is 337.20, 338.67, and right at 338.60.
Wait. Let me just go back because I haven't focused on gold. But I'll take. Let me just say that again.
The daily pivot range on gold is 337.20, 338.60.
Right, dollar and a half range. Good.
And it opened at 338.60. So
Was that the pivot in gold? Was that the low? Go back to Louis.
Yes.
Get rid of that low. Hit that box that says clear. So we can see everyone doing. Okay, put this box on top where it says other. Keep going up. Put it front and center right. So we're up $76,000. Okay. That's where we stand today. That's where we stand today as a firm. Because right now we're up $77,000 trading equities. What they're doing, they use my stuff. They don't use only my stuff. These loonies have their own systems. Okay. In conjunction with what I do, and they just go, because all they are what? Dealing cards. Okay? Go back to Future Source. Can you minimize that and go back to Future Source? There we go. Boom. That was the pivot first hour low, wasn't that? Is that what you're telling me? It was. Right. That was the pivot first. No, that was the pivot first hour low, wasn't that? In gold. Okay. Louis.
Yeah.
What's the A up in gold today?
The A up in gold is 330. I'm sorry, 342.40.
And it made it, right?
It looks like a bad tick there. No, it did not make it yet.
Why? I see the tick says 344.
Yeah, that's a bad tick.
It's a bad tick?
Yes.
It's a new high for the A?
342.10 right now.
Right. And what's the A up?
342.40. It's about to make it.
What time is it?
It's 10:15.
So it's here the problem with that is it's past the hour, right?
Correct.
Here's the problem with the trade we're doing a pivot first hour. Louis, it's not a pivot first hour trade, right?
No, it is not.
Tell them why it's not a pivot first hour trade.
Because gold opened at 820.
Right, so 820, so by 920, this market's had to have made the A up already. And it hasn't. And it's almost 1020. Okay? But if this would happen at 920, we'd be buying it. Okay? So that's a good observation. It's a really good observation. Next. What? No. Why would I sell it? It's a pivot first hour. If anything, I'd be looking to buy this thing. Yeah, but the problem is, Richie, that the pivot is the bottom of the range. Just like yesterday when we talked about the bonds, that the pivot was the bottom of the range, and once the bonds made the up, they went. I'm not just looking to fade things for fading purposes. I'm looking to fade things for there being a reason. Where the S&P is 904.5. Ugh, we're gonna have to sell these things. 901. Market tank. Okay. Louis.
Yeah.
For ACD straight, did you sell S&Ps today?
ACD straight?
No, we don't trade them, right?
Right.
But you didn't trade. Now pivot, you're gonna have to sell them at the end of the first hour, right?
Now pivot, yeah, we're timing it right now for a half an hour.
Okay. We do this crazy way of timing them for them. Okay. So that's it. So here they are again. Okay. The day started out again. I missed a trade. Didn't set up the way I wanted to. That's fine. I didn't do it because I wasn't going to just take a trade down. But again, day started out small, right? Weird range, right? Nothing really going on. Now we're down 15 handles. Okay? I'm going to still leave my stop in there. Okay? I'm not selling them down here. Okay? I'm going to have to sell something at the end of the first half hour, right? If I want to be involved. Okay? Bonds are here. Crude oil trading 2608. Euro currencies on all-time new highs. Gold's making new highs because of that. That's it. So hopefully this afternoon, okay, move down 5 minutes. Hopefully this afternoon, okay, at 3 o'clock we're going to have better luck because I'm leaving all these things on. Maybe we'll come back this afternoon. The S&P's will be trading 9:45, and I'll buy everybody dinner. The point being this, again, I hope, even though we weren't able to make a trade, because I'm not here to just impress you guys and make money, okay, you're seeing what I did here. Okay, so we have on the S&P, right? We have the euro currency order, which I cut in half. We have the order to buy crude oil on that failed system. Louis, did crude make an A up yet?
Hold on.
No, it didn't, right? It didn't. Yeah.
No, it did not.
Go to the squawk box.
2623 is the A up. It hasn't hit it yet.
Okay. That's not squawk box. That's squawk box. Is this going to work? I'll bet you $1 it doesn't work. Okay. Oh.
Gold just hit the A up, by the way.
Who's this, Mel Allen from the Yankees? Who's this guy? Who is this guy? Here. All right, what time is it? 9:20? Okay, we got 5 more minutes. Can you minimize this, Lou, and put the other thing up? Let's see where we are. Trading 903 in the S&P. Okay. See, the good thing about this is when I'm trading and I'm looking for the trade, I have all the dealers trading. So if you look at these guys, right, go back to the stock screen. Okay. Okay. All my guys were up. How much is that? We're up 100 grand already. Right. That's all my dealers. Ding, 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 ding. Right. Again, and I'm looking to make the trades that make this number go much higher. Okay? Okay? Okay. Get rid of that box. 20 in June, 38, 02. Joe, are there any pivot on gap days? Look at that S&P sheet before we get a chance. Are there any? Look at that. Let's look and see if there's any other reason, if there's anything else down here, the S&Ps, that I can tell you about that we can maybe look at later on. Oh, here's an interesting thing. If the market takes out 885 this week, it's an outside reversal week to the downside. Wouldn't that be lovely?
A up in crude.
There's gold, by the way, Richie. Right? No reason to get short this thing.
Mark, A up in crude.
There's the A up in crude. See? All this is information flow. Processing information like this. And by the way, you can do the same thing in stocks. Okay? We trade. Go back to that equity page. Ready? See? These are all positions. Right? These are all stocks. They're up $93,000. This is all stock trading. The dude's in the same crap. Okay? Right? So, Peter, there's the answer to the question. That's what we do every day in stocks. There it is. We're short 6 million. We're long 4, short 10. I don't know. Who knows? Okay, get rid of that. 20. So now the market made an A up. Good. So a C down in crude, okay, if the bottom of the open range is even, a C down in crude would be 87. So now it's an even better trade because a failed C down, right? You know, you get some late middle of the day weakness. The locals may try to push it before they go ahead for their Kentucky Derby break, okay? Again, you may not think that's important, okay? But that information is probably the most important piece of information I got all day. Okay? Yeah. No, but that's why I wouldn't do anything. I'm not going to buy something here. It traded 20, 23 is the A up. It's hanging around here. It's not really doing anything, right? Right. I have a pivot on gap above here, like between 50 and, around 50 area. I want to buy them cheaper. Okay? I have the patience to wait. Okay? If I go home And my wife says to me, "What'd you do?" I said, "I did nothing." She understands. Okay? If your risk manager says to you, "How come you're not trading?" and you say to him, "Because nothing lined up," if you do that for a week or two, he says, "You're gone." He doesn't understand the business. The business is not to trade. The business is to make money. Okay, we're done. 5 minutes. Any last question? Anybody else? Yes. This is it. What? Coulda, woulda, shoulda? Forget it. You blow your brains out. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Good night. Good night. Good afternoon. I'll see you guys back at 3 o'clock.